Good afternoon, everybody. Very happy to be here. I invited myself, actually, but okay, that's it. So today, a tale because it's 2:15, so you are going to fall asleep, and I'm trying to keep you awake. So 100-year perspective on resilience and trusted ecosystem. It looks like our industry was quite good to understand its role. We did very well. We built a network, we connected ecosystems, we connected humans, autonomous systems. Then the world got digitalized, and we assumed that we would keep our role and we would still construct value. And in a way, we did it, but something started to happen, a bit subtle. The connectivity started to change the value, started to drift a little bit from where carriers assumed they were going to build things. Sparkle is part of this story because Sparkle operates at global scale. And when you operate at global scale, you are somehow part of the nervous system of the planet. So I'm showing you this slide not just for a corporate presentation because everybody knows us, but to let you understand that we are building networks spanning more than 600,000 kilometers over subsea cables, terrestrial network. We manage these networks and we provide different kind of services. And when you talk about scale, this is the playground that we operate today. Again, connecting continents, connecting people. And it started about 100 years ago. In 1925, this was our first subsea network, because not many of you probably know that Sparkle is the heir of a glorious company called Italcable, which was founded in 1921 from Italian immigrants in Argentina. They founded this company because they wanted to connect with their relatives that stayed back in Italy. I was already a Sparkle employee back then, a bit different, but taller, thinner, blonde, long hairs, kind of Jason of that time. And so I recovered some picture of those times, and I want to show you. This was our landing station in Anzio, which is a town close to Roma, the place where the cable originated. And this was the cable ship. Look how it was a cable ship 100 years ago. This was called the Città di Milano. But probably the most interesting thing that I want to show, this was the Italcable pavilion at the Milano exhibition in 1929. I want to show you, and I'm magnifying some of the words there. So, cablogrammi per tutto il mondo. Per tutto il mondo means globally. Another magnifier. Esattezza, accuracy, rapidità, speed, segretezza, confidentiality. Anything resonate? Let's go to numbers. You know, numbers never lie. So this is one of the market research from the guys of telegeography that I'm always like to thank because they are doing an unbelievable job, and the industry really relies on them. In particular, this is the transport network research, which applies to us carriers. And basically, the numbers that you see there represent the total global bandwidth, which is active in transport systems, so not planned, not design capacity, active capacity that is present on transport system in the planet. So, if our industry was basing revenues on the demand, we could finish the presentation, we go to sleep quietly and happily, because as you can see, the numbers are amazing. 2025 saw a total aggregated number of 8.3 petabit of capacity. There is some effect of delay, but the growth year over year is fantastic. So let's try to understand what is within this number. Let's decompose the first layer. And here you start to understand that things are not exactly like we thought. So we have 4 categories: internet backbones, content and hyperscalers, enterprise and carriers, research and education. You see the percentages by yourself. So we can identify with a little bit of backbone, carriers, and so on and so forth, but basically what comes to our eyes is that not all bandwidth is the same. Not all economy of the bits is the same. And if we see this over history, the reality becomes even a bit more disturbing. Between 2025 and 2031, the role of internet backbones decreased dramatically. Percentages-wise, we are shrinking dramatically. So, this, in my opinion, is one of the main topics. The internet that we built for ages ago is not the internet that we live today. We built an internet where every bit, every produced packet was going south to north from the requester up to the tier 1 and going down. Every packet was going through transit providers. Every packet was monetization for us. Fast forward, the internet today is much more east-west, much more dominated by those content players, by those that are caching, by those that are sending their bits through their private networks. So connectivity remains absolutely foundational, but the visible points and the control points are moved a little bit far away from our playground. So the question, what happens now to global carriers? What do we do? Well, if we see again the numbers, beyond the percentages, there are the absolute numbers. So while in 2010, the 79% of internet backbone was 37.2 terabits, in 2030, the 18% is going to be 5 petabit. So one can say, okay, we still have a lot of bits to move. The worst analogy of all history in the history of telecoms. The dumb pipe. Gilder and I think Eisenberg, back in the 90s, were sentencing the dumb pipe. I hate this sentence, I'm sorry. And I think somebody here probably agree with us. I have another story that I can say. And there is another sentence, probably a bit more intelligent, that said by this gentleman here, Mr. Clive Humby, a British mathematician and entrepreneur. He said back in 2006, data is the new oil. What does it mean? It means that data are precious, probably, like oil. But there is another analogy that we can study. Data, like oil, when they are just extracted, are not of so big value. Raw data can become valuable, but it must be moved, it must give context, it should be somehow operationalized. So when you start to work on data, you see that the emergence of patterns, you see the slow fading of noise. And this is when data become information. And if you move and do the process again, then data becomes knowledge. So we are going to see probably another reality whereby data is the foundational element of the world, any kind of data. And as oil, the world cannot work without data. So did we find perhaps a more sound analogy? Perhaps. So carriers are not dumb pipes. They have never been. Carriers are custodian of a treasure, which is customer data. Good? Right? Correct? Yes, until a certain point. This was true, but this was true when Hamby said in 2006, 20 years ago. That was the age of the digital transformation. Data built from every platform. Every CIO was building data, data lake, data whatever. We became the custodian. Probably we were not so good to monetize that data. But this is not anymore the digital transformation age. This is the AI age. In the AI age, data is still foundational, but it's not the most precious thing that we move. We move something else much more valuable. A thought in progress. We are part of the cognitive process of the planet. AI means reasoning. AI for carriers means distributed cognition. So for the first time, the carriers do not sit underneath the workload, but they are participant in the act of reasoning itself. And you know, this can generate a totally new value proposition. So to give an example that is sound to what we discussed in the morning, a European prompt that is being sent over a US inference endpoint is not simply data in transit. It's a cognitive act outsourced across jurisdictions. We are moving from simple transit to trusted cognitive transit. So if we move hundreds years forward, accuracy, speed, confidentiality, data integrity, latency, trust, jurisdiction, the carrier is still a carrier, but it's having restored its place in the economy of today. Now, let me move a little bit towards Sparkle. So for us, there is a recipe, and the recipe to work in the AI economy is being a carrier that is more intelligent, more automated, more trusted, and more diversified. More intelligent in the way it turns complexity into insights, prediction, and optimization. More controlled in the way it operates at speeds with consistency at scale. More trusted in the way it secures data at rest and in motion and certifies identity and integrity of data. And more diversified in the way it opens new routes, new markets, new products, and new forms of value creation. This is, for me, the next carrier. Not less carrier, a different one. If I need to summarize and find a word, I like to call it a resilient carrier. Not resilient in the sense of, in the very narrow sense of surviving failures, but in the sense of adapting to the new age, whatever age it is. So just a few more slides about how we intend this type of carrier in Sparkle. What we are doing to implement. Well, talking about intelligence and control, this is our first AI-based AI ops infrastructure beyond machine learning. This is AISNA. AISNA stands for AI Sparkle Network Assurance. It connects event management, incident workflows, operational knowledge, and automation into one closed loop. This is not theory. This is working. Our network operation people are using it. And those that you see on the right side are the results that we were achieving in 2 years of operation of this platform. Let's go a bit on the trust and on the diversification. Probably you remember 2 years ago in Dallas, we launched the Quantum Safe Interconnect, the QSI. We were the first carrier to launch a NAS quantum safe proposition. The quantum safe interconnect is available on layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3 networks. It's cloud native, it's present in Sparkle NAS platform, but it's available on AWS and on Equinix Fabric. Let's move even upper on the stack, the agentic moment. There is nothing to say here about this slide. AI is no longer answering questions on a chatbot. We know that we are living the agentic AI moment, but at the same time, this raises a doubt, a question. How do we secure the communication of the agents? Well, if you are a bit more technical, you know that at the end of the day, everything runs on HTTPS. Everything runs on the TLS. How do we know that those protocols are still safe in the era of the quantum computer? They are not. How do you know that an agent is identifiable when it's calling your system? Well, at the end of last year, we were launching a new proposition that we called STLS AI, building on top of the QSI. The STLS AI, which is in proof of concept availability at the moment and will be launched commercially by the end of the year, is assigning a crypto identity, and you bet that is giving a crypto identity to the agent, and is establishing a quantum safe communication between agents. This is reality, is not what we are going to doing, is what we did and what we are going to commercialize. Moving more on the stack, the second introduction of AI in Sparkle. This is Sophia. Sophia is all developed in-house by the people that you see sitting in these tables, especially one. Sophia stands for Smart Orchestration for Intelligent Automation. It's an agentic AI platform that runs a number of agents. You see on the left some of the examples on every business component of Sparkle. Invoice reconciliation, big data operation, mobile operations, and DBR is our old inventory that has been migrated and there is an agent that is querying it, and so on and so forth. This is working today, not tomorrow, not something that we are designing. And finally, you know, it's not everything fancy. When you talk about automation, it's not just I launched an API, I connected the marketplace. There are still things in 2026 that are extremely manual, like activating a cross-connection within a data center. You need to send a piece of paper called letter of authorization, which should contain information from the inventory of the two parties and so on and so forth. 90% of the times those info are wrong, not properly documented. You never know at any point in time what is the status. So we ran a proof of concept for what we called ELOA, Digital Letter of Authorization. It's based on a blockchain. It's being given a status at every moment where the LOA is advancing. And this is another of our activities that we develop in and with Mplify. And this is one of the places where I wanted to get. All this that we are doing is based on and contributed to Mplify, because we believe this is the place where the industry will get automated. So the QSI has generated an Mplify standard, 174. The LOA has started the project, and so on and so forth. Now let me go back to the cables. This is diversification. This is called Blue and Raman. 10,000 kilometers of subsea cable built with Google and Omantel, half of it designed with diversification in mind, to avoid choke points, to improve latency, to improve survivability. For those who think that we invest just in Europe, this is our flagship project in the Caribbean. It's called Manta, and it's being realized together with Liberty and Gold Data. And last but not least, our next cable, and this is really where no one has gone before, our next cable in the Mediterranean, specifically built for connecting the AI training centers that are going to be built in the Middle East with the best possible latency and deterministic performances. No one has gone before because this will be the first cable that will be laid on the Adriatic Sea. Now let me finish where I started, Italcable. You saw what it means for us to play in the digital economy. I cannot guarantee that Sparkle is the right player with the right recipe, but I can tell you that we are doing everything in our possibility to improve ourselves and to be a certified player in the digital economy. Thank you very much.